Good day, everyone. So today we're going to report about the reproductive system. What is the reproductive system? The human species could not survive without functional male and female reproductive systems. The reproductive systems play essential roles in the development, and the structural and functional differences between males and females influence human behavior and produce offspring. However, a reproductive system, unlike other organ systems, is not necessary for the survival of an individual human. Reproductive system functions: production of gametes, fertilization, development and nourishment of a new individual, and production of reproductive hormones. Here are the major reproductive organs. So we have in the male our ductus deferens, epididymis, penis, seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and testis. In the females, we have our mammary gland in the breast, uterine tube, ovary, uterus, and vagina. Formation of gametes. Gametes, reproductive cells, sperm in males, oocytes or eggs in females. Meiosis, a special type of cell division that leads to formation of gametes. Each sperm cell and each oocyte contains 23 chromosomes. Meiosis 1. Before meiosis begins, all the chromosomes are duplicated, creating identical copies called chromatids. At the beginning of meiosis, each of the 46 chromosomes consists of 2 chromatids connected by a centromere. The chromosomes align as pairs in a process called synapsis. Because each chromosome consists of 2 chromatids, the pairing of the chromosomes brings 2 chromatids of each chromosome close together. Meiosis 2. Genetic material is exchanged when a part of a chromatid or one chromosome breaks off and is exchanged with a part of another chromatid from the other chromosome in a process termed crossing over. 6. Meiosis 1 produced 2 haploid cells, each having 23 chromosomes, composed of 2 chromatids joined at a centromere. Meiosis 3. During meiosis 2, each of the cells divide into 2 or more cells, and the centromeres breaks, giving separate chromosomes. The final result from meiosis are 4 haploid cells, each having 23 chromosomes. Since the number of chromosomes are reduced during the process of dividing into 4 cells, the process is a reduction-division process. Here is the figure of meiosis. Next, we will have Nathalie Palmares for our discussion of fertilization to fetus.
From fertilization to fetus. Union of sperm and oocyte, zygote. A fertilized oocyte develops after fertilization, develops into an embryo 3 to 14 days after fertilization. Male reproductive system. The male reproductive system consists of the testes, a series of ducts, accessory glands, and supporting structures. The ducts include the epididymis, the ductus deferens, and the urethra. Accessory glands include the seminal vesicle, the prostate gland, and the bulbourethral glands. Supporting structures include the scrotum and the penis. Male reproductive organs. Contains testes, contains dartos muscle that moves scrotum and testes close to and away from the body, depending on temperature. Sperm must develop at temperatures less than normal body temperature. Cremaster muscles, extension of abdominal muscles, can contract and pull the testes nearer the body. Primary male reproductive organ produce sperm, and scrotum contains seminiferous tubulus where sperm is produced. Contain interstitial cells, secrete testosterone, contain germ cells, cells that sperm cells arise from, contains testicular cells, nourish germ cells, and produce hormones. Spermatogenesis. Formation of sperm cells. Begin in males at puberty. Interstitial cells increase in number and size. Seminiferous tubules enlarge. Seminiferous tubules produce germ cells and sustentacular cells. Production of sperm cells. Germs 1. Germ cells 2. Spermatognia 3. Primary spermatocytes 4th. Secondary spermatocytes 5. Spermatids 6. Sperm cells.
Next is we have the sperm cell structure. The structure of a sperm cell or spermatozoon includes the head, which contains the nucleus with genetic material, or DNA, which has 23 chromosomes. Its structure is a cap-like on the head that contains enzymes to penetrate the egg. Next is we have the midpiece, packed with mitochondria to provide energy for the sperm's movement. Last is the tail, enables the sperm to swim and move toward the egg for fertilization, mainly the flagellum. Next is we have the ducts. Ducts plays crucial roles in sperm transport. These ducts are the epidermis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles, and urethra. First duct is we have the epidermis, thread-like tubules on each side of each testis, where seminiferous tubules empty new sperm, where sperm continue to mature and develop the ability to swim and bind to oocytes or the egg cells. Next is we have the vas deferens or the ductus deferens, extends from the epidermis and joins seminal vesicle, cut during a vasectomy. But what is a vasectomy? A vasectomy is a surgical procedure for male sterilization or permanent contraception. During a vasectomy, the vas deferens, the duct that carries sperm from the testicles to the urethra, is cut, tied, or sealed. This prevents sperm from reaching the semen that is ejaculated during sexual intercourse. Next is we have the seminal vesicle, sac-shaped gland near the ampulla of each ductus deferens. Ducts from the seminal vesicle and the ampulla of the ductus deferens join at the prostate gland to form the ejaculatory duct. Each ejaculatory duct enters the prostate gland and joins the urethra. Last is we have the urethra, extends from the urinary bladder to end of penis, passageway for urine and male reproductive fluids. Next is we have the male reproductive organs. First is we have the penis. Penis includes the corpus cavernosum, corpus spongiosum, spongy urethra, are three columns of erectile tissue which fill with the blood for erection. Transfer sperm from male to female, excrete urine. Distal end of the penis forms a cap. Urethra opens to the exterior as the external urethral orifice. Next is we have the prostate gland. Prostate gland surrounds the urethra. It is the size of a walnut. Next is we have the bulbourethral gland, a small mucus secreting glands near base of prostate gland. So now, Janus Parinas will continue to the next slide.
So let's move on to the male reproductive structures. So this picture contains the organs in this specific reproductive. Male reproductive structures contains urinary bladder, urethra, penis, glans penis, prepuce, scrotum, testes, epididymis, ductus deferens, anus, bulbourethral gland, prostate gland, rectum, ejaculatory duct, seminal vesicle, and ureter. And at this point, this is the picture of the structure of the testes and sperm cell. So we have here the structure of the egg cell and the sperm. So let's get deeper in the male reproductive. So the two big circle here is the corpora cavernosa. At the bottom, we can see the corpus spongiosum and the spongy urethra. In the upper view, we have the dorsal vein, dorsal artery, and the dorsal nerve. And this is surrounded by the connective tissues. Let's learn about the semen. So it is the mixture of sperm and secretions from glands. It provides a transport medium and nutrients that protect and activate sperm. So we have the distribution of fluid. So first is the 60% of fluid is from seminal vesicles, 30% of fluid is from prostate gland, and bulbourethral gland and from testes is 5%. So on the other hand, we have seminal vesicles. So it provides fructose. It contains coagulants that help deliver semen into female. Then we have prostate gland. So it contains enzyme to liquefy semen after it is inside female. It also neutralizes acidity of vagina. And then bulbourethral gland. It neutralizes acidity of male urethra and female vagina. So it talks about secretions. Every ejaculation of a male, it contains 2 to 5 milliliters of semen. And in this 1 milliliter, it contains 100 million sperm. So this sperm can live for 72 hours once inside female. Here, we are learning about the path of sperm. So first is sperm develop in the seminiferous tubules or in the testes. And then epididymis, ductus deferens, and it receives secretions from seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and bulbourethral gland. And lastly, it flows in the urethra where semen exits body. So let's talk about male sex hormones. Gonadotropin-releasing hormone is produced in the hypothalamus and stimulates secretion of LH and FSH. LH means luteinizing hormone. It's produced in the anterior pituitary and stimulates secretion of testosterone. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone. It's produced in the anterior pituitary and prompts spermatogenesis. At this moment, we have to learn male puberty. So it is the sequence of events in which a boy begins to produce male hormones and sperm cells. It begins at age 12 to 14 and ends around 18. Testosterone is major male hormone. It is the secondary sexual characteristics develop. Example is skin texture, fat distribution, hair growth, skeletal muscle growth, and larynx changes. Testosterone is produced in the interstitial cells in the testes and is involved in development and maintenance of reproductive organs. So the following slides will be discussed by the E.J. Eldelson.
Male reproductive hormone regulation. Male 6 Act 1. The male 6 Act is a complex series of reflexes that result in erection of the penis, emission, and ejaculation. Emissions, the movement in sperm cell mucus, prostatic secretion, and seminal vesicle secretion in the prostatic membranous spongy urethra. Ejaculation, the first expulsion of the secretion that have accumulated in the urethra to the exterior. Male 6 Act 2. Sensations, normally interpreted as pleasurable, occur during the male 6 Act and result in the intense sensation called an orgasm. A phase called dissolution occurs after ejaculation in which the penis becomes flaccid. An overall feeling of the satisfaction exists and the male is unable to achieve erection in second ejaculation. Penile erection is the first major component of the male 6 Act. Neural stimuli cause the penis to enlarge and become firm, specifically parasympathetic action, potential from the sacral region of the spinal cord, cause the arteries that supply blood to the erectile tissue to dilate. Blood defills small venous sinuses called sinusoids in the erectile tissue and presses the veins, which reduces blood flow from the penis. Emission. Emission is the combination of sperm cells and semen in the urethra, stimulated by sympathetic action, potentials that originate in the lumbar region of the spinal cord. Cause the reproductive ducts contract stimulate the seminal vesicles and prostate gland to release secretion. Semen accumulates in the urethra. Penile ejaculation. Ejaculation results from the contraction of smooth muscle in the wall of the urethra and skeletal muscles surrounding the base of the penis. Just before ejaculation, action potential is sent to the skeletal muscle that surrounds the base of the penis. Rhythmic contraction produces forced semen at the urethra, resulting in ejaculation. In addition, muscle tension increases throughout the body. Female reproductive system 1. The female reproductive organs consists of the ovaries, the uterine tubes, the uterus, the vagina, and the external genitalia, and the mammary glands. The internal reproductive organs of female are located within the pelvis, between the urinary bladder and the rectum. Female reproductive system 2. The internal reproductive organs are held in place within the pelvis by ligaments. The broad ligament spread out on both sides of the uterus attaches to the ovaries and uterine tubes. And and Ray will further discuss the next slide.
As I discussed this slide, you see the picture of the female pelvic, where you see the small oval-shaped glands located on the either sides of uterus. They produce the store of your egg, also called ovum, and make hormones to control your menstrual cycle in pregnancy. There are 3 holes in the female reproductive system. The first is the urethral, where the urine exits. The second is the vagina, where oocytes and periods came out. And lastly, the rectum is where the poop exists. The next slide is female reproductive organs, where you see the ovaries. A primary reproductive organ system produces oocytes and sex hormones of the uterus. Ovaries is a female reproductive organs produce oocytes and sex hormones, one of either sides of uterus. Ovarian ligaments anchor ovaries to uterus. Suspensory ligaments anchor ovaries to pelvic cavity. Mesoovarium attach the ovaries to broad ligaments. Female reproductive organs. Ovarian follicle. A group of cells in ovaries contain oocytes. Each of the ovarian follicle contains an oocytes, the female reproductive cell. Here is the structure of ovarian follicles. Oogenesis, fertilization. Oogenesis is the process of gametes, production of females. Oogenesis begins before female is born, by the 4th month of development. The ovary contains 5 million oogonia, which are the cells from which oocytes develop. Females are born with all their oogonia, have 2 million, unlike males have only begin to produce sperm during puberty. Oogenesis and fertilizations. At puberty, about 300,000 to 400,000 oogonia are left. Puberty to menopause. FSH stimulates several follicles to begin developing during each menstrual cycles, but only one follicle should be ovulated. Oogenesis fertilizations. Oocytes are swept into one of uterine tubes by fibroe during ovulations. If sperm is presented in uterine tube, during ovulation oocytes could be fertilized. If fertilization occurs, then zygotes implant in uterus. Oocytes only have 24 hours, so if no sperm is presented at ovulation, no zygotes develop, and oocyte dies. Here is maturation of the oocytes in follicle.
The uterine, or the fallopian tubes, are part of the uterus, which extends towards ovaries and receive oocytes. Fimbriae are fringe-like structures around the opening of the uterine tubes that help sweep oocyte into the uterine tubes. Fertilization usually occurs in the part of the uterine tube near the ovary. It is called the ampulla. Tubal ligation is the sterilization of a female. The uterus. It is a pear-sized structure located in the pelvic cavity. It functions to receive, retain, and provide nourishment for fertilized oocyte, where embryo resides and develops. The body is its main part. The fundus is the part of the uterus superior to the entrance of the uterine tubes. The cervix is the narrow region that leads to the vagina. The female reproductive organ, called the uterine wall layers, are the perimetrium, the serous, outermost layer, the myometrium, the middle layer composed of smooth muscle, and the endometrium, which is the innermost layer that is sloughed off during menstruation. The vagina. It extends from the uterus to the outside of the body. It is the female copulation organ that receives penis during intercourse. The vagina allows menstrual flow and is involved in childbirth. The vagina also contains very muscular walls and a mucous membrane. The vagina is very acidic to keep bacteria out. Next, we have the vulva. It is the external female sex organ. It includes the mons pubis, labia majora, and the minora clitoris, prepuce, and vestibule. The mons pubis is a fatty layer of skin covering pubic symphysis. The labia majora is a larger and outer fold of the skin surrounding the entrance to the vagina and is equivalent to the male scrotum. The labia minora is a thin inner fold of skin surrounding the entrance to the vagina. And the clitoris is a small erectile structure located in the vestibule, and it is equivalent to the male's penis. The prepuce is where two labia minora unite over the clitoris, and the vestibule is a space between the vagina and urethra. And this is a figure of the female external genitalia. Next, we have the mammary glands. They are organs of milk production in breasts. They are modified sweat glands. It is the female breasts that begin to enlarge during puberty and consists of lobes covered by adipose tissue. These lobes, ducts, lobules are altered during lactation to expel milk. This is a figure of the anatomy of the breast. Now let's turn to Gian Andre Dalman to discuss the anatomy of the breast.
Anatomy of the breast. Female puberty begins between 11 to 13 years of age and is usually completed by age 16. Menarche, the first episode of menstrual bleeding. Vagina, uterus, uterine tubes, and external genitalia enlarge, and then fat is deposited in breasts and hips. Elevated levels of estrogen and progesterone are also secreted by the ovaries. Female sex hormones. These are the gonadotropin-releasing GnRH hormone is produced in the hypothalamus and stimulates secretion of LH and FSH. What is LH and FSH? LH is luteinizing hormone. It is produced in the anterior pituitary and causes the ovulation. What is the FSH? FSH is follicle-stimulating hormone. It is produced in the anterior pituitary and prompts follicles in the ovaries to begin development. Estrogen. It is the proliferation of endometrial cells, development of mammary glands, especially duct system, control of LH and FSH secretion, development and maintenance of secondary sex characteristics. Progesterone. What is progesterone? It is the enlargement of endometrial cells and secretion of fluid from the uterine glands. The maintenance of pregnancy state, development of mammary glands, especially the alveoli, control of estrogen, FSH, and LH secretion, the development of secondary sex characteristics. Menstrual cycle. It is a series of changes that occur in sexually mature non-pregnant females. Menses. The time when endometrium is shed from the uterus. Average is 28 days and results from cyclical changes that occur in the endometrium. Stages of menstrual cycle. Menses, days 1 to 5, shedding of endometrium, menstrual bleeding menses, estrogen and progesterone levels are low and follicle begins to mature. Proliferative, days 6 to 13, between end of menses and ovulation. Endometrium rebuilds, estrogen levels begin to increase, progesterone levels remain low, and follicle matures. Stages of menstrual cycle, part number 3. Ovulation, day 14. Oocyte is released due to LH. Estrogen levels are high, progesterone levels are increasing, and cervical mucus thins. Corpus luteum is mature follicle after ovulation. Degenerates if egg is not fertilized.
Menstrual cycle. Menopause. Menopause is the time when
Mr.
ovaries
Eslabri will
secrete
take the
less
next
hormones and number of follicles in ovaries is low. Menstrual cycle and ovulation are less regular. Hot flashes, fatigue, and irritability may occur. Estrogen replacement therapy may be used to decrease side effects. Female sexual behavior. Sexual drive in females, like sexual drive in males, is dependent on hormones. Testosterone-like hormones and possibly estrogen affect brain cells, especially in the area of the hypothalamus, influence sexual behavior. Testosterone-like hormones are produced primarily in the adrenal cortex. Female sexual behavior. Psychological factors also play a role in sexual behavior. The sensory and motor neural pathways involved in controlling female sexual responses are similar to those found in the male. The female sex act. During sexual excitement, erectile tissue within the clitoris and around the vaginal opening becomes engorged with blood. The mucous glands within the vestibule secrete small amount of mucus, with larger amounts extruded into the vagina through its walls. Stimulation of the female's genitals during sexual intercourse and psychological stimuli normally trigger an orgasm or climax. The vaginal and uterine smooth muscle, as well as the surrounding skeletal muscles, contract rhythmically and muscle tension increases throughout much of the body. After the sex act, there is a period of resolution which is characterized by an overall sense of satisfaction and relaxation. Contraception. Many methods are used to prevent pregnancy, either by preventing fertilization or by preventing implantation of the developing embryo. There are 6 main types of birth control. From the most to the least effective, they include long-acting reversible contraception, sterilization, hormonal methods, barrier methods, fertility awareness, and emergency contraception. Thank you for listening to our report about the reproductive system.